Welcome to Reframe Your Mindset for Success. With me today is Azeem. How are you today, Azeem?
Hey Paul, I'm extremely excited. I'm feeling great. Then first and foremost, thank you very much for inviting me to the your podcast.
Oh, it's great to have you on. Great to have you on. I know we last caught up probably a couple of years back, but
Yeah.
you've been doing some amazing work. And what have you been up to this week, or what have you got planned?
So I've been this has been a very sort of a relaxed week. Just had one session. I'm just planning out a couple of sessions coming up. Next month we're going to be a really heavy month. At the same time, I'm planning my season 11 of my podcast. So
Right, right.
just framing those things around this week.
So keeping busy and out of trouble, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely, absolutely.
Great stuff, great stuff. Well, as you know, with the podcast, I always start with your story. So it's
Mm,
over to you in however many words
yeah,
you want to tell it. And
right.
yeah, over to you.
So the story behind myself is I'm a person who is so open-minded, and I'm a curious person who love to learn, who love to grow, who always think of like impossible stuff to align myself and get. So if you look at my career, um, I started my career as a salesperson who's selling furnitures, and then moved into marketing computers in the early 2000
Yeah,
because that's the boom of computers, you know. So I've been exploring my career a lot. I didn't know what to do because when you're out of college and when you're out of university, you just roam around trying to grab things that comes around. Then I'm not a person who can really manage, numbers. So
yeah.
I thought marketing is not something related to me. Then I moved to banking. So I used to work for a global bank in Sri Lanka, and I worked for a good 5, 6 years over there. And I'm getting another opportunity to travel to Middle East, the banking sector. As you know, Paul, banking is a very stagnated industry, right? It's very
Yeah,
difficult to grow. And at the same time, I'm a person who like really explore things. There
yeah,
were a point where I really, really, got stuck in that particular industry. I couldn't know. I thought I'm not loving my job. I'm not enjoying. And at that time, I have been married and I'm really exploring. Um, Good thing is, while I'm in Middle East, I completed my MBA at the Napier, Edinburgh Napier from Scotland,
yeah.
and I finished my train the train as well. So the HR department from the banking that time in the Middle East called me and said, Azim, we need a trainer who is in who can train on the retail production services. I said, because at that time I was a seasoned person, good 5 years in Middle East. I said, why not? And just start exploring. And I thought that's calling for the moment. And it really turned myself how I see, rather just doing a desk job and just processing credit documents and et cetera, looking at the policy procedures,
Yeah.
sort of transferring knowledge, Paul. I thought I have, and people said I did a fantastic job. I said, thank you. I wasn't even expecting that. But then again,
Uh,
um, then I had been getting opportunities a lot from the HR department. And one fine day, I got opportunity. They said, "Why you do like to come, sit permanently in this particular place?" I said, "Why not? you you never get an opportunity." So the story behind what I look at two aspects of it because I come from a very middle range class. We are not very high
yeah,
fi. We were rental house, very struggling to have our own property and live in our own.
yeah,
So I had a lot of burden on my shoulder with family, taking care of my father and mother.
yeah,
I thought, yeah, it's a good move, and that's the moment I start exploring aspect of training and development in my career, which I never thought at the early stage of my career. So, couple of things, in terms of a mind, the story I would like to bring on the mindset.
yeah,
In the early stage of our career, Paul, we always look for exploration because we don't know what's right, what's wrong. unless you have a fantastic mentor and a coach, which I did.
Yeah.
So the experience, the exploration and the experience really, really, really helped me out to understand what exactly I need. Because the moment I felt very uncomfortable where am I now, I start searching for a comfortable zone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So number two is how do you know, refocus, resettle your mind to get that better prospect. Because, Paul, you and me, we know that life doesn't go the way we like, right? If
Yeah.
that's the case, me and you will be like, you know, we'll be sitting in very different places. But then again, that's what life is about, right? You'll have ups and downs. But how do you really manage our mindset with an emotion? It's something really triggered. So I lived in Middle East good 12 years and thought of coming back to Sri Lanka.
Yeah.
Uh, because then I moved to Abu Dhabi for a couple of years. So a small stint, I worked for a consultancy firm, which again gave a good insight how the market runs. And I thought thinking of coming to Sri Lanka and settle down with the families because um, living in Middle East pretty alone. So my kid didn't have grandparents, uncles, aunts. So I want this give this connection. So when
Right.
we came back, another journey starts here, Paul, because I just left six-figure salary in Middle
Yeah.
East. They pay a good number of amount.
Yeah.
I came back, which I have to start from ground zero because
Right.
I'm not in my country for last 10 to 12 years. So that means I don't have a network. I don't know the people here. I don't know the industry here. But then
Yeah.
again, I had to work really hard. I had have savings for 2 years, run on savings until I get hold of my foot. So that's where the whole identifying the gap in the market I start studying because Paul, you know how the training industry works. Everybody
Yeah.
is good in the business. Everybody is available and they start fighting on the numbers. I
Yeah.
thought, look, I should bring something unique to them. So that's where the emergence of emotional intelligence came in. In Sri Lanka, it is pretty new at that time. Nobody knew what is emotion. Even though they knew, they didn't know what exactly. So I started studying it. I went through a process, I explored and I researched. I went through a certification program and start exploring and bringing to the market. Believe me, Paul, now it's a full demand product.
Right.
People are looking for it. People
Yeah.
are really realizing. So that gave me a leverage. And at the same time, okay, I have emotional intelligence. What are the new tool I can bring? That's where I bring Lego Series Play. I'm one of the practicing person who's in the country who runs Lego Series Play. Um, a methodology which enable people to use their senses, their hands as the brain to
Yeah.
work on certain movement. So I reinvented the whole training industry for myself in Sri Lanka, bringing a lot of new content and new methodologies to the market, enabling people to really understand what's their potential. So latter part, I really understood, okay, Paul, right, I have a tool, I have a methodology, and I have a system, which is EI. I need something one more,
Yeah.
that is coaching.
Yeah.
So that's where I started coaching. So now I'm a PCC level ICF coach. So I bring that particular mix of play, emotions, and growth as part of my 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 whole profession.
Yeah.
So what as a summary, Paul, I know it's been a long story. Kind of the summary, what I am really understood. Look, life is never going to be easy, and it's going to be up and down. And if you don't really manage your emotions, recognize and manage emotion, and really refocus every time you go through a tough time, you're going to die.
Right. With you.
You're going to be vanished. You're going to
Yeah.
evaporate from this particular market, right? So it's
Yeah.
important to have that I love the part of your podcast, right? Reframe your mindset.
Yeah.
Now, it's important. Our mindset is one of the biggest asset including the emotion. So the moment you refocus and bring that reframe into the context, that's how we thrive in our life.
With you, with you. And I guess that's what I was going to ask next is why is mindset so important to you?
Absolutely, it's everything, right, Paul?
Yeah.
Because look, let's take an example. No, 3, 4 years ago, we went through something called COVID. I don't know how many of your listeners remember this COVID
Oh,
because now,
absolutely.
now, now people forget COVID. And sometimes they ask like, okay, what's that? All right. So at the early stage of the COVID, we were not even bothered about it because it's not something happening far away from our country, right?
Yeah.
But the moment we hear from the media, from social media, main media, what happened to us? The moment we hear that, our emotions start kicking in, and we were taking so much of precautions. The whole country went into isolation. We went into very normal mode, into a fear mode. And that fear really disrupted our mindset, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because we have not experienced in our life such thing. I think the early was Spanish flu, the 1920 on, right?
Yeah.
We are not even born, right? So the whole mindset is important. How do we really keep up our mindset? How do you reframe? Because when we think about, okay, it's not going to happen, we're going to really get stuck. Actually, I wrote a small article, reinventing yourself in crisis moment. Because if you're not reinventing yourself by refocusing your mindset, you're not going to thrive anymore or even survive. Because it's important people to really understand, overcome that. And that's why I think emotional intelligence is an amazing tool because a lot of people have that lack of self-awareness. They don't have the self-awareness. They don't know what are they feeling. They don't know who they are. They don't know what's their purpose. So when they don't know themselves, it's really difficult to reframe the mindset, right? So
Yeah. Absolutely.
self-awareness, being aware, right? Being in the moment. What's happening to me? What am I feeling now? So when we don't recognize that, it's very tough for us to really manage it. The moment we don't manage it, that's it. We go off track. We are all over the place. We try everything, whatever possible, to get out of the track. But it doesn't work. It doesn't, that's not the way to run. So enabling yourself to settle down and reflect on yourself. What are you feeling?
Yeah.
And okay, now I'm feeling very timid, very stuck, very frozen way of thinking. When you enable what should have happened to me, rather what has happened before. So we focus on the future and refocus ourselves, reframe ourselves. So to do that, your mindset is so vital because if you say, let me give you, can I ask you a question, Paul? If you don't mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can I ask, yeah, Paul, why do you comb your hair?
I comb my hair in the morning because it's all over the place. I look a little bit like
Absolutely.
I look like
Absolutely.
Back to the Future the doc on the Back to the Future. I comb it to look
All right.
professional.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You need to look good, right? You need to really have that impression coming in. And can I ask another one? Why do you brush your teeth?
Because otherwise I'd have bad breath, so I want to make sure that they're nice and
Yeah,
clean, nice and white too.
a- absolutely. Now, why you brush your hair and comb your hair and brush your teeth? Because you see that, correct? You
Yeah.
see every time you go into the mirror.
Yeah.
You see like, oh, my hair is not good. I need to comb. Okay, my teeth doesn't look shiny. I need to brush. But what we don't see is mindset. That's why we don't take care of it.
With you. Yeah.
The more we see the stuff, we take care of it. But one of the important thing is our emotion and the mindset, which we don't see in us. So we ignore it. Because of we ignore that, the external environment, whatever thing happens, it really impacts you
Yeah.
because you have been hijacked by the external environment. So that's why I think mindset is so important and it need to take care by the own person.
Great explanation. I really like that. And if I was to ask you, how would you describe your mindset then? I know you've talked a lot about curiosity and exploration, but how would you describe
Yeah,
your mindset?
right. So um, now this week, I said you asked me what I'm doing, right?
Yeah,
Beginning of the week, I had just a 4 hour session virtual. That's it. And so my calendar, only your session, my calendar is blocked, and I have two couple of evening session tomorrow. Day after this, it's regarding the international coaching week. So
yeah,
morning hours is pretty empty. Now, when pretty empty, your mind start being idling. The more the calendar is empty, the mind is so idling
yeah,
because you're not thinking about anything. I use this, let's say we can see as a boredom because it's less stress. Fine. I use this asking myself question, okay, what's next? What should I do? Um, why I'm so bored now? So what I'm doing is that idle moment I'm turning into a very creative component, using that space and using that energy in terms of curious questions.
yeah.
What can I do different? What is something coming into mind? What are the new podcast episodes available on my phone? Can I listen and start writing an article? Can I come up with a couple of posts? So what I'm trying to do is I'm using that space of idle into curiosity and transforming it into a creative component. So I conceptualize certain programs during the idle time
Yeah.
because I always believe my mindset is one of the biggest assets, as I said before. And I am so keeping it open so it can generate that curious question because I am idle. So the more
Right.
curious mind I am, the creative I'm going to be. That's how I describe my mindset.
That makes complete sense. Yeah. I really like that. I like the way that you ask yourself questions to stay in that frame of mind. And talking about that, because that's a tool in itself and a technique that you use. Are there any other tools or techniques that you use to enhance your mindset?
So absolutely, yeah. So there is a technique which I just I'm exploring and I'm practicing these days. Um, are you a fan of? I know you're a fan of a Liverpool fan of this
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
technique, right? Um, are you a fan of rugby?
I don't mind rugby. I like the rugby union.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I know the English roses are beautiful and they play very hard, but I'm a fan of the All Blacks, the New Zealand.
Yeah.
So I read a book by James Gerb. The name book is Legacy, and I start reading it.
Okay. Yeah. Good
Uh,
book.
and it's an interesting book, and it shows that how leadership component really work and how do you leave a legacy. So
Yeah.
in one point of time, they're saying about red head and the blue head, red head and blue head. So
Yeah.
every time and All Blacks go through a high pressure situation,
Yeah.
look, even a game of football or cricket or rugby, when the 11 or 15 players playing in middle of the field, thousands of people are watching,
Yeah.
millions of people are watching on the media. Imagine the so much of pressure this place goes through. When the pressure is high, how easy to focus on a task. It's damn difficult, isn't it, Paul?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what the technique is about, the redhead is about being so stuck, being so timid. You can't focus. You breathe very fast, right?
Yeah.
So when that particular redhead is there, you are unable to talk because a lot of chattering goes in your mind. So what the All Blacks people does is, there's a video on YouTube by Dan Carter, one of the best scrum half you will have, and a placekeeper. So
Yeah.
he explains the whole process. The whole idea is when you recognize when you're in a red head, high pressure situation, a lot of thought process goes on. How do you bring back? You need to have number one, what you need to do is silence yourself. What do you mean silence yourself? Means there are a lot of inner chatter goes in your mind. Okay, I need to hit this goal. Let's say a free kick, right? Let's say a free kick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I need to make sure this goes. A lot of people are watching me. This guy is going to turn left and right. A lot of things goes in the mind. So the focus is not there.
Yeah.
So when you have silence in yourself, that means you silence your mindset, inner chatter. having some mantras, tap on your leg, or like, you pull your hand wrist, or, just put your hair,
Yeah.
just arrange your hair, you have some water in your face, you bring that into that particular position. So number one is silence. Number two is listening. Listening means I'm talking about listening. You listen to yourself, thinking like, okay, I'm gonna hit this particular ball into that corner.
Yeah.
So what do? You vision the action. So the moment you start visioning the action, your attention comes to that particular moment, to the goal. It's not the outside. But when in a redhead moment, your attention is around the ground, around the field. It's not in the
Yeah.
ball or the goal. But the moment you shift with these three, you become in a blue head zone where you are so focused, so relaxed. You take a couple of deep breaths and start breathing in a normal pattern. So you focus. Now, this is one of the techniques I've been really focusing and practicing to maintain my mindset also. Because sometimes I feel overwhelmed when I see my calendar
Yeah.
because fully booked. Sometimes I'm really difficult to write. I have to do this after this, so I start procrastinating. So what I do, okay, Azeem, let's calm down, let's settle down, let's silence myself, take a couple of deep breaths,
Yeah.
bring the attention right. Let's prioritize this. This is my top priority. Let me focus this and finish it off. So by that time, I make sure my phone is on silent, or I turn the other way around, and I make sure that I don't have any notification coming from my laptop, because if not one notification, you know what will happen, Paul, right? You and
Yeah.
me know how it will happen. Your focus get distracted.
Easy.
So
Yeah.
red head versus blue head, one of the technique I use these days to, high pressure situation. How do you really, maintain the balance?
That's a real great technique and really well explained. So thank you. That was excellent. So moving from there, because obviously you do reframe your mindset and you do understand the importance of it. Over
Yeah.
the last however many years of your career, who or what has actually helped you develop your mindset? And it could be a person. You've already mentioned a book there, Legacy. So is there
Yeah.
anyone who's helped you?
All right. So I do have a coach for me. One of my colleague who works with me, his name is Vidushan Qatar. So it's Sri Lanka, and he's also into the Indian industry. We work together. So
Yeah,
I do have a coach. Even though I'm not a coach, I have a coach. Sometimes, when I feel stuck, when I really disturbed, I go and sit with him. I make sure that at least once in 2 months I sit with him and just take him through what I'm doing. What do you think? So having that person and giving that a perspective how he see myself
yeah,
enabled me to really, develop certain techniques and skill. That's one option. Number two, I'm a fan of LinkedIn. I'm a really big fan of LinkedIn. I use the network a lot,
yeah,
right? And there are free resources. For example, instead of coaching, they host every week certain webinars, right? Carol
yeah,
Kaufman hosts certain webinars. So those are things, something I really learned new. And I listened to a lot of podcasts, like I host. Um, I listened to a lot of podcasts.
yeah,
I listened to Jeremy Ackley is into creativity, and I listen to Simon Sinek. Then I listen to Mel Robbins, fantastic lady, right? She
yeah,
gives some amazing reframing mindset techniques, and of
yeah,
course, Coaching for Leader by Dave Stackport. So these podcasts, I just walk from early morning, 30 to 45 minutes, and just one podcast is done. So what I'm trying to say is having a coach as well as having a learning platform will also develop your mindset. Because the moment we think, Paul, that we know everything, that's it. We are in a fixed mindset, don't
yeah,
we?
yeah,
So, as coaches, as facilitators, as trainers, we always see the possibility of learning more so we can grow. So, that growth mindset comes in. So, those are some of like methods and platforms. Of course, coaching is important. Having a person who can really understand you also. So these are a couple of things I do practice in my life, make sure that I have that growth mindset rather I get a fixed mindset.
Yeah, it's good. It's great advice again, and learning from those, being open-minded, as you say, right at the start, and having that curiosity really helps. So
Yeah.
over the last however many years of your career, I do ask, my guests if they've got a funny story that they can share. Maybe something that went
Okay.
wrong. Yeah,
So one of the funny story that this is I don't know whether it's funny or no. It made me think it's funny, right? So, you know, 3 years ago when I brought in Lego to Sri Lanka, and I went on pitching people because Sri Lanka is very traditional, Paul.
yeah,
We are very culturally oriented. We love the way we traditional. The
yeah.
moment we strike it with a different approach, you will have lot of question coming. So I had a meeting, a pitch. So I took my small Lego box and went there and I'm like, okay, tell me what we're going to do. I said, we're going to play. I said, I serious. I call you for a serious business. I said, I'm serious. So so they thought I'm here to play with the Legos because that's for the demonstration. I said, I'm not here to play. I'm here to play with the CD. No, you're going to play with the toys with our people. So the whole funny part is how people mindset goes, right? Being an
Yeah,
adult, this is the best part, Paul, right? Being
yeah,
an adult, and then if it's a small kids, yeah, they'll be like, no question, they'll just jump in, right? My son and daughter loves Legos.
yeah.
But an adult, see how the mindset is. When I see the toys, they just see as a toy. They didn't think as this as a development tool.
So true.
So it took
Yeah.
me almost 1.5 years to convince people, look, this is not only for kids, my friends, this is for us also.
Yeah,
So let's play. So I use a very different approach when training comes. I bring a lot of humor in. I bring playfulness in. I bring a lot of storytelling in. So that means that's one of the. Still, I remember that moment. Right? That the face of that person went. Like,
yeah.
what are you doing? I'm having my director saying you're bringing toys.
It just goes to show you, doesn't it? I mean, I know, they reckon from childhood, we massively lose our creativity through logical thinking in the way that we grow up,
Yeah,
the way that we're conditioned. So,
absolutely.
and it's all about
By
mindset.
the
It's
way,
all
there,
about mindset.
yeah, yeah, sorry, Paul. By the way, there's a fantastic on that TED talk on that line by Sir Ken Robinson. I don't know whether you have heard about that. That's an
Okay, yeah,
amazing. So he's no more. He's a Nate Sir Ken. He had a fantastic TED talks about how the education system in the countries really kill the creativity of the children.
yeah.
So that's for your listeners. If you want to like have a listen to that, or you can watch that. It's an amazing TikTok.
Great recommendation. Great recommendation. So Azeem, it's been fantastic having you on the podcast. I mean, you've shared some great stories, some great insight and techniques. What would be then, to round things off, what would be the last piece of advice that you give to the listeners about
Yeah.
mindset?
So I have three aspects here, 3 points. Number one, my dear listeners, change is inevitable. Whether you like it or not, it will change. Change will be keep coming on your way. Like when you walk on the beach, see how the whole, the waves comes into the shore and it never stops. Change is something like that. Now we are talking in the age of artificial intelligence, digitalization, automation, right? We are talking about electric vehicle, and we are talking about sending tourists to the space station. So there will be change coming in, and
Yeah,
you need your mindset need to be ready to absorb that change. If you want to embrace that change, number two thing you have to do is you keep learning. The
yeah,
moment you stop learning, that means you'll stop growing and you'll not be able to embrace. That's where your insecure feeling comes in. That's where your uncertainty comes in. Then you will have a challenge on your status quo. So that automatically you start failing, falling apart. The last one is your emotions.
yeah,
Please give 100% attention to your emotion and feeling. because that's how it forms your mindset. Because the fear factor, the look, emotion is an intelligence. It gives certain information for you. So have that ability to recognize it and allow that to really express through your self-management technique. So number one is change is inevitable. You need to embrace it. Number two, I would say you want to embrace the change, you start learning and growing with that. Number three, when you start learning and growing, there are a lot of emotional elements will come in. So you need to recognize those emotions so you'll be able to really bring that aspect of thriving in your life, where curiosity and creativity is in line with this. Because if you're not creative, you'll not be able to thrive because you'll be another person in this market who sells the same product and sells like this. So those are my final things.
Great advice, Azeem. Really fantastic words. So it's been great having you on the podcast today. It's been a real pleasure listening to you talk and share some of your insights. So thanks very much.
Absolutely, Paul. So thank you very much for having me on your podcast. So again, I think we met after a long time. So thank you very much. It has been a great pleasure being part of this episode.